My girlfriend lied about client meetings, stole the vineyard retreat I paid for to party with her manager, so I canceled everything and let her watch it all collapse. Danielle's birthday and our anniversary were just a couple weeks apart, and I wanted to do something special, something unforgettable. I'd been with her for 3 years, and this felt like the moment to take the next step. So I went all in. I booked 5 days at the Bellagio Vineyards Resort in Napa, this ridiculously exclusive place that had private tastings, in-suite dining, a spa overlooking the hills, and even a hot air balloon ride I scheduled for sunrise on our 3rd day. That was when I planned to propose. I bought the ring 6 months in advance. My name's Owen. I'm 30, a high school history teacher in Berkeley, California. Danielle is 28, a real estate agent who's always on the move, constantly networking, constantly posting. She loved beautiful spaces and being in front of the camera, which I figured made this place perfect. When I first told her I had something big planned, she lit up like a kid on Christmas. She kept saying how romantic I was, how lucky she felt. But then she asked if the room had good lighting and whether the winery had a recognizable name, something that'll pop on Instagram. I laughed it off at the time. I thought she was just being playful, but a part of me noticed it, that shift in her focus. Still, I didn't let it bother me. I poured everything into the planning. I scheduled a wine blending session just for us, reserved a couple's massage, and even called ahead to ask if the chef could prepare her favorite dessert, lemon raspberry tart. For the night, I'd popped the question. I even booked a private fireside dinner just before the hot air balloon ride, so it would be just us under the stars. The closer the trip got, though, the more distracted she seemed. She'd scroll through her phone while I talked, barely reacting when I'd mentioned something about the itinerary. I showed her the vineyard's sunset views from their website, and she just nodded, then said, "Do they have a decent filter for that? Natural light can be tricky." I told myself it was nerves or work stress. She was always juggling a dozen listings. But the night before we were supposed to leave, we were lying in bed and she was barely responding to me, just sort of scrolling through her phone, laughing at something someone messaged her. When I asked what was funny, she just said, "Oh, nothing," and put her phone down face down. I knew something was off, but I ignored it. I thought maybe she'd feel differently once we got there. Maybe the beauty of the place would bring her back to us. I still had the ring in my sock drawer. Still had every minute of the trip planned. The morning before our flight, I left a little note next to her coffee. "Can't wait to start forever with you." She texted back a heart emoji. No words. No smiley face. Just that. I should have seen it coming. I should have listened to my gut. But love makes you stupid sometimes. It makes you cling to hope, even when the cracks start to show. So I told myself we were just in a rough patch. That this trip would fix everything. That maybe she'd say yes and everything weird would fade away. I didn't know yet how wrong I was. After that weird stretch leading up to the trip, I thought things might settle down. But they didn't. If anything, Danielle got more distant. Our routines used to be solid. Wednesday nights were sushi and Netflix. Sundays were for sleeping in and catching the late brunch at Luna's on College Avenue. But then came the excuses. Late meetings. A surprise showing. A team dinner that just popped up. The first time she bailed on sushi night, she texted, "Sorry, babe, client emergency." Rain check? I didn't think much of it. Her job was unpredictable. The second time, it was my manager's calling a last-minute team huddle. I can't skip it. Okay, fine. But when it became every week, when even brunch started getting replaced with vague texts like "overslept," "maybe next time," I started to notice. And then there was that Friday night. I was scrolling through Instagram. Yeah, I check it more than I should. And there she was. Danielle, sitting on the outdoor patio at Baylight Brewery. She was holding a flight of beers and laughing at something off camera. The caption read, "TGIF with my girl Soph #real to relief." I stared at it for a while. Sophomore. That had to be Sophie from her office. The same Sophie she once told me was so boring it hurts. Now they were suddenly Friday night drinking buddies? I checked the timestamp. Posted an hour ago. Which meant she wasn't at some late meeting or showing like she'd said. She was just out. Having a good time. Without me. Without even telling me the truth. I sat on the couch, phone in hand, and stared at the wall for a long minute. I thought about texting her. Asking her flat out. But what would I even say? Caught you lying, now what? Instead, I just typed, "Hope the meeting went well," and hit send. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want to believe what I was starting to feel. That something was going on. That I wasn't the guy she turned to anymore. That maybe I never really had been. She replied 15 minutes later. Totally did. "Sorry for being MIA. Long night. Love you." I sat there rereading her text, thinking about the photo of her laughing with Sophie, and felt like an idiot. Then her phone habits changed. She used to leave it face up on the coffee table or charger. Now it was always in her hand. Always tilted screen down when she set it anywhere. She started wearing her Apple Watch more and replying to messages through it, so I couldn't even see the preview bubbles. One night, we were watching a movie, something she picked, a romantic comedy with zero plot, and her phone buzzed twice in a row. She glanced at it and smiled, then quickly turned the screen down. I caught it out of the corner of my eye, that smile. It wasn't for me. Who's that? I asked casually. She didn't even look up. Work stuff. On a Saturday night? She shrugged. My clients don't care about weekends. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But my gut was screaming something else. There was a weird energy between us. Like I was in the way. Like everything I did was either too much or not enough. She stopped asking about my day. When I mentioned a rough student in my history class, she nodded without listening. When I tried to show her the hot air balloon itinerary I printed out, she waved it off with, "I'll look later." She never did. I started staying up later, just lying in bed, listening to her in the bathroom. The way her voice softened when she took calls in there. The way she giggled quietly. I'd ask who it was, and she'd just say, Sophie, or client, or someone from work. Always vague. Always safe. And I bought it. Because what else could I do? I told myself she was stressed. That I'd been too focused on the trip, on the proposal, and maybe I was smothering her. I convinced myself that if I just pulled back, she'd come around. She'd see how much I cared. But each night felt colder. Her goodnight kisses got quicker. Her body angled away from mine more often. Like she was drifting out to sea, and I didn't even have a boat. I didn't know who I was to her anymore. A boyfriend? A placeholder? An audience? I didn't say anything. I didn't confront her. Instead, I clung to the vineyard trip. I poured all my hope into those 5 days, like they were going to be the grand reset. Like once we got there, everything would fall back into place. Like maybe I'd kneel down, ask the question, and she'd remember how we used to be. Before all the secrets. Before all the silence. But even then, I think I already knew. I just didn't want to say it out loud. The morning of the trip, I woke up early. My bags were already packed, ring box carefully tucked in a side pocket, triple-checked and zipped shut. Danielle was supposed to come by at 9, so we could head to the airport together. I even made coffee, her favorite hazelnut blend, thinking maybe that would put her in a good mood. My phone buzzed just after 7. It was an email notification from my school. Subject line, reminder, professional development seminar, hosted by Owen Sutter. I blinked. My name? I opened the email. Sure enough, there it was. A mandatory leadership training session scheduled that morning, and apparently I was the lead presenter. My name was in bold under the agenda, welcome remarks by Owen Sutter, followed by session 1. Cultivating culture in the classroom. I sat there in the kitchen, coffee forgotten, rereading the message. This had to be a mistake. I hadn't agreed to any seminar. I hadn't volunteered to host anything. Who the hell signed me up? I checked the original RSVP form. The confirmation email was forwarded from my school's admin. At the bottom, I saw the timestamp and the note, confirmed by Danielle Hunter on behalf of Owen Sutter. I stared at the screen for a solid 10 seconds before it sank in. Danielle submitted the form. Danielle signed me up. I didn't even know what to do. I stood there, the air in the room suddenly thinner, heart thudding like I'd run up a flight of stairs. My first instinct was to call her. But I didn't. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to school. When I pulled into the lot, I could already see the superintendent's car. Teachers were arriving. They waved as I walked past, holding my laptop bag and trying not to look like my world had just shifted sideways. Inside the building, our admin waved me down. Hey Owen, thank you so much for stepping up last minute. Danielle emailed us your outline. It looked great. Outline? I just smiled. Yeah, of course. I sat through 3 hours of professional development hell. I gave a half-hearted welcome speech, facilitated a workshop I didn't prepare, and nodded along as people tossed around buzzwords like growth mindset and stakeholder engagement. My mouth moved, but my brain kept circling back to one thing. Why? Why would Danielle do this? Why would she purposely schedule something during the exact time we were supposed to be leaving? And more than that, why pretend to do it for me? At 10:15, during a break, I pulled out my phone and texted her. Hey, we've got a problem. I'm at the school. Apparently, I'm hosting a seminar you signed me up for. Why would you do that? No reply. At 10:30, I tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. I tried again 20 minutes later. Still nothing. By noon, the seminar was winding down, and I was sitting at my desk with the ring box in my hand, just staring at it. I was supposed to be boarding a plane with her by now. Supposed to be heading toward the vineyard, the sunset dinners, the balloon ride. Instead, I was stuck here, hijacked by someone who claimed to love me. I opened Instagram. Danielle hadn't posted anything new, but Sophie had. A photo of a packed suitcase with a caption, Napa, here we come. I stared at it, all rising in my throat. I clicked through her story, shots of the airport lounge, a mimosa toast, boarding passes blurred out. My heart was in my throat. I clicked Danielle's profile. Nothing new. But her last post was from the day before, A picture of her freshly manicured hand holding a glass of wine, captioned, "Ready for some serious R&R, private suite vibes incoming." It had the same tags I'd used in my reservation. Same exact tags. I was starting to shake, but I told myself it could still be a coincidence. Maybe they'd booked their own trip. Maybe this was all just a strange overlap. Maybe she didn't mean to sabotage mine. But somewhere deep down, I already knew. I just didn't have proof yet. I closed the ring box and shoved it into my desk drawer. My fingers hovered over my phone, hesitating. I wanted to call her again. I wanted her to pick up and tell me this was all some misunderstanding. That she meant to surprise me. That we'd laugh about it later. But she didn't answer. And I wasn't laughing. I left school just after 1, driving home like a zombie, running every possible scenario in my head. Maybe Danielle went ahead without me. Maybe she figured I'd catch the next flight. Maybe she thought it was some kind of surprise, a weird twist on our plans. I didn't even make it to my front door before checking her Instagram again. That's when it all fell apart. There she was, in the suite I booked, standing on the balcony in a silk robe, holding a flute of champagne. The caption read, "The perfect escape with the best people." I stared at the photo until my vision blurred. I recognized the background instantly. The Bellagio Vineyards main villa. The view, the chairs, even the damn ivy climbing the balcony rail. I knew it because I picked it for her. I studied that resort for months, called the manager 3 times to upgrade our package. I clicked on the tag profiles. Sophie was there, of course, but also 3 guys I didn't recognize, young, stylish, 2 of them shirtless in one video clip, doing shots by the pool. My pool. The one I paid extra to have private access to. They were laughing, toasting. One of the guys saying, "Shout out to whoever paid for this. 'Cause this is luxury, baby." Sophie laughed in the background. Danielle blew a kiss to the camera. I nearly dropped my phone. My stomach flipped. I clicked through more stories, more videos. They were in the tasting room I'd booked for 2. Riding the golf cart I requested for Danielle and me. Eating a cheese board I'd selected from a special menu. I knew every single detail because I made all the reservations. I was supposed to be there. With her. Not them. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I called again. And again. On the 4th try, she picked up. Her voice was light. Cheerful. "Hey. Are you serious right now?" My voice was tight, shaking. "You're at the Vineyard?" "MHM. You're at the suite I booked." A pause. Then, "Yeah. With Sophie? And random guys?" She gave a small laugh. "They're not random. They're friends." I stood in the middle of my living room, heart pounding. I was supposed to be there, Danielle. This trip was for us. I was going to propose. Another pause. A long one. Then she said, "Well, maybe it's a good thing you didn't. You're kind of predictable, Owen." I felt like I'd been punched. "Predictable?" "Yeah," she said casually. "You plan everything. Down to the last second. It's sweet, but it's a lot. I wanted to actually enjoy the trip. Not be part of some overly coordinated romantic agenda. This wasn't just a vacation," I snapped. "It was an anniversary trip. Your birthday. I spent months planning it. I worked overtime. I was going to give you a ring, Danielle." Another pause. "Well, if you had proposed, I probably would have said no," she said, like she was talking about a weather forecast. I couldn't speak. She continued, "You're a great guy, Owen. Really. But this," she gestured. I could hear the clinking of a wine glass. "This is what I needed. Not another lecture about surprise character tours or balloon rides at 6 in the morning. I just wanted to unwind." I felt my jaw clench so tight it hurt. "You could have just told me." "I didn't want to hurt your feelings," she said, completely without irony. I hung up. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. I sat down on the couch, phone still in my hand, and stared at the last frame of her story. Danielle in a white bikini, grinning at the camera, poolside with Sophie and 2 shirtless guys behind her, captioned, "Manifesting more moments like this." She took the trip I planned, the money I spent, the dreams I had, and turned it into a party with other people, and didn't even try to hide it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Not out of rage, not even sadness, just a cold, clear clarity. She hijacked my life, but I wasn't going to let her enjoy it. Not anymore. The moment I hung up, I sat there in stunned silence, staring at nothing. My ears were ringing. The trip, the proposal, the months of planning, all of it twisted into some self-indulgent getaway for Danielle and her groupies. And me? I was just the idiot who paid for it. But not anymore. I grabbed my laptop, logged into the resort's website, and pulled up my reservation. There it was, Bellagio Vineyards, 5 nights, Villa Suite, under my name. I clicked the Manage Booking tab and called the front desk. A woman answered cheerfully. "Thank you for calling Bellagio Vineyards. This is Leona. How can I assist you?" I took a breath. "Hi, Leona. My name is Owen Sutter. I have a reservation for the Villa Suite this week, under my account." "Yes, Mr. Sutter. I see it here. Everything looks active. right? So, this is going to sound insane, but the woman currently occupying that suite? She's not me, and she doesn't have my permission to be there. There was a pause on the other end. I'm sorry, did someone check in under your name? She's my girlfriend, I guess. She used my booking without telling me. She even signed me up for a school seminar to keep me from coming. Leona sounded cautious now. That's concerning. I can verify everything. Credit card, email, reservation number, anything. I want the rest of the trip canceled, effective immediately. Another pause. Then, one moment, sir. Let me speak to a supervisor. She put me on hold for what felt like a year. I stood up and started pacing. My mind was racing through every event I'd planned. The wine blending, the couple's massage, the hot air balloon ride, the dinner by the fire pit. All of it. She was going to take all of it and act like she earned it. Leona came back. Mr. Sutter? We've confirmed your identity and ownership of the reservation. We will cancel all remaining services effective immediately. Anything that hasn't already been consumed or used will be fully refunded. I felt my whole body exhale. Thank you. We do recommend you inform the guests on site to prevent confusion, she added politely. Oh, don't worry, I said, my voice like ice. I will. Next, I called the hot air balloon company, then the spa, then the vineyard's head sommelier. Hi, I need to cancel the private tasting under Owen Sutter. Hi, I need to cancel the sunrise balloon ride. Yes, I know it's late notice. No, the booking party will not be attending. One by one, I unraveled everything. The couple's massage? Cancelled. The chef's lemon tart for two? Gone. The romantic fireside dinner? Scratched off the calendar. I even canceled the car service I had scheduled to take us back to the airport on the last day. Then I made one final call to the resort concierge. Hi, this is Owen Sutter again. I'd like to cancel the return airport transportation under my name. The guest will need to arrange their own ride back. I hung up and took a deep breath. Then I opened my messages, found Danielle's name, and typed out one final message. You wanted fun. Find your own way back. I hit send. And then I blocked her. Blocked her on text. Blocked her on Instagram. Blocked her on every app where she might think she could reach me and spin it all into a misunderstanding. Where she could come crawling back with some half-baked excuse or hollow apology. Nope, not this time. I wasn't going to be the nice guy who just forgave and forgot. Not after she stole my trip, my money, my trust, and twisted it into a vacation highlight reel for her followers. She thought she could manipulate my schedule, hijack my plans, and leave me behind while she soaked in luxury. She didn't know I could take it all away. And now? Now she'd be standing barefoot in a silk robe on that sweet balcony, trying to understand why the masseuse didn't show up, why the chef canceled dinner, why the car never came. She'd be left explaining to her little crew of freeloaders that the fantasy was over. Because I pulled the plug. She wanted control. She got it. And now, she could deal with the consequences on her own. After everything I'd canceled, blocked, and deleted, I thought I was done. But something still gnawed at me. It wasn't revenge. I'd already taken care of that. It was the fact that Danielle had torched every bit of trust between us and still might walk away without ever being held accountable. I wasn't looking for justice. I was looking for the truth to be seen by someone other than me. So I did something I'd never imagined I would. I called her parents. I'd always gotten along with the Bradfords. Her mom, Sharon, was warm and polite. Her dad, Alan, was a straight shooter, kind of old school, but respectful. We'd shared dinners, laughed over family game nights. I even helped them set up their backyard deck last summer. They liked me. At least, I thought they did. It was Saturday afternoon when I called. Sharon picked up. Owen. Hi, sweetheart. How's the trip? I closed my eyes. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. There was a pause. Is everything okay? No, I said quietly. Not even close. And then I told her everything. The trip I planned. The vineyard. The proposal. The fake seminar Danielle scheduled to keep me from leaving. The Instagram stories. The guys. The lie. Every brutal detail. Sharon didn't say much at first. I could hear her breathing, her shock catching up to the facts. Oh my God, she finally whispered. You were going to propose? Yes. Another silence. And then she said something I didn't expect. Owen, I'm so sorry. Her voice cracked, just a little. I could tell she wasn't just embarrassed, she was disappointed. And heartbroken. I didn't know any of this, she said. She told us you backed out last minute. Said you had to work and left her to go alone. Of course she did. She said you'd been distant. That the relationship had been falling apart. That you didn't care. I let out a bitter laugh. That's rich. Sharon sighed. I feel like I don't even know who she is right now. I didn't want to twist the knife, but I had to ask. Did she tell you who paid for the trip? No, she didn't, Sharon said quietly. But I'm guessing it wasn't her. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. Everything. Flights. Sweet. Every event. She muttered something under her breath. Then, Let me talk to Alan. We'll call you back. Less than an hour later, my phone rang again. This time, Alan was on the line. Owen, he said. His voice was firm, the kind of tone that usually preceded a hard truth. I want you to know, we raised her better than this. I believe you. And I'm sorry. We believed her story. We thought you bailed. You had no reason not to. He went quiet for a second. Then he said something I didn't expect from a man like him. She's not coming home, he said flatly. Not this time. No free rent. No bailouts. No pretending she didn't screw this up. You're serious? Dead serious. She lied to us, manipulated you, and used your money to fund a party for strangers. That's not a daughter I recognize. If she wants to live that way, she can figure it out on her own. There was a long pause between us. Mutual silence. Mutual sadness. Do you want us to talk to her? Alan asked. No, I said. I've said everything I needed to. All right, he said. But if it means anything, you always had our respect, Owen. I'm just sorry you had to learn about her this way. Me too, I said. After we hung up, I sat on my porch for a while, watching the sun dip behind the rooftops. I felt strangely lighter, not because I got closure, but because someone finally saw her clearly. Not the online version. Not the filtered stories or the sugar-coated lies. The real her. That night, Sharon sent one last message. Thank you for telling us the truth. We'll always be grateful for how you treated her, even if she didn't deserve it. You deserve better, Owen. Much better. And for the first time in weeks, I slept all the way through the night. By Monday, the dust had started to settle, at least on the surface. Danielle still hadn't tried to contact me, which almost made things worse. No apology, no confrontation, no explanation. Just silence. Like she'd already moved on, and I was just a glitch in her storyline. But I wasn't done yet. There was one detail still stuck in my head. The guys in those videos. I went back to Sophie's stories from that weekend, replaying every frame. One guy stood out, tall, mid-30s maybe, clean-cut. He wasn't acting like some random hookup or friend of a friend. He was leading toasts, pouring wine, putting his hand on Danielle's lower back like he'd done it 100 times. I zoomed in on one clip and paused. He looked familiar. I remembered Danielle mentioning a manager at her firm, someone she worked under closely. A guy named Marcus. She'd brought him up a few times, always in that casual but too frequent way. Marcus thinks this listing has real potential. Marcus wants to do a team retreat in Tahoe. Marcus said I'm one of the top closers this quarter. I did a quick search, found the agency's site. There he was, Marcus Langley, regional team manager. Same guy from the Vineyard videos. No doubt. My heart started pounding. I knew I shouldn't care anymore. But this wasn't about jealousy. This was about truth. About finally seeing the full picture, not just the part Danielle let me see. I sat there, staring at his photo on the firm's Our Team page, debating if I should message him. I figured he probably had no idea who I was. Maybe he thought I was some ex-boyfriend she'd already shaken off. But maybe, just maybe, he didn't know he was being played too. So I sent the message. Hi Marcus. I know this is strange, but I think we should talk about Danielle. Didn't expect a reply. Not right away. But 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Is this Owen? The voice asked. Yeah. This is Marcus Langley. I got your message. What's going on? I didn't dance around it. I think you were at Bellagio Vineyards this weekend with Danielle and a few others. Pause. I was, he said. She told me it was a friend's birthday trip. Is this about that? I was supposed to be on that trip, I said. I planned it. Paid for it. Booked every event. He went silent. She told me you backed out, he said after a moment. Said the relationship ended a while ago. She said you were just a guy she used to date. I could hear the shift in his voice, the confusion turning into something heavier. I was going to propose to her, I said. That trip was for our anniversary. She signed me up for a fake school seminar just to keep me from going. More silence. Jesus Christ, he muttered. I had no idea. None. I believe you, I said. He let out a breath, like the weight of it all had just landed on him. She told me she was single. She flirted, but I thought it was just work banter. I didn't know you two were. I didn't know you even existed. I'm not blaming you, I said. She's good at hiding things. I just needed to know the truth. He was quiet for a long time, then finally asked, what do you want to do? I thought about it for a moment. Confront her, I said. Together. Marcus didn't hesitate. Yeah. Okay. I want that too. I could hear the edge in his voice now. The anger. Not the performative kind, but the kind that comes when you realize someone made a fool of you. I'm scheduling a review with her tomorrow morning, he said. End of quarter check-in. We can do it then. You sure? I asked. Absolutely. She doesn't know I know. It'll hit harder that way. We agreed on the time. 10 a.m. He'd bring her in, and I'd be on video. She wouldn't see it coming. When I hung up, I felt something settle in me. Not satisfaction. Not revenge. Just readiness. She'd thought she could play both sides and walk away clean. But tomorrow, the truth was going to sit across from her, and it wouldn't flinch. 10 a.m. sharp. I sat at my desk, laptop open, coffee untouched, the ring box still tucked in the drawer beside me like a quiet reminder of everything that could have been. I took a deep breath as the video call connected. The screen flickered, and then there they were. Marcus sat at the head of the table, crisp button down, arms crossed. Danielle was beside him, dressed like she always did for work, impeccably styled, like every meeting was a photo op. She looked calm, bored even, until she saw me. Her face twitched for a split second. Not panic, not guilt, just annoyance. "Owen," she said. "Why are you?" "I brought him in," Marcus interrupted. His voice was cool, professional, but with a sharpness I hadn't heard before. Danielle blinked, clearly thrown off. "Okay, I'm confused. What is this?" "It's your quarterly performance review," Marcus said, glancing at his tablet. "But given what's come to light over the last 48 hours, I thought we'd make some adjustments." She sat up straighter. "What's that supposed to mean?" I leaned forward. "It means we're done pretending you didn't lie to everyone." She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God. Are we seriously doing this?" "Yes," Marcus said flatly. "We are." Danielle looked from him to me, and I could see her defenses starting to go up. "Whatever Owen told you, it's not the full story." "He showed me receipts," Marcus said, cutting her off. "Booking confirmations, screenshots, proof that the vineyard trip was planned and paid for by him, that you signed him up for a fake seminar so he couldn't go, that you told me you were single." Danielle's mouth opened, then closed. "Danielle," I said quietly, "I was going to propose." Her eyes snapped to me, and maybe I would have said no. "You could have said that before you stole the trip," I said. "Before you lied to your boss, used your company email to confirm events, and brought 3 guys to the suite I reserved for the 2 of us." She shook her head slowly, voice trembling just enough to sound sincere. "Okay, I made a mistake. I was overwhelmed. You kept planning everything and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I just needed a break." Marcus raised a hand. "Stop." She turned to him, eyes wide. "Marcus, please." "You violated multiple workplace policies," he said. "You used your professional account to schedule personal events. You listed one of our clients as a vendor to gain access to corporate discounts. You falsified a business lunch in our CRM." Danielle's face paled. I can explain that." "No, you can't," he said. "Because it's all documented. And now, HR will be reviewing everything." She turned back to the screen, her face tight. "Owen, are you really doing this to me? After everything we've been through?" I didn't answer right away. I looked at her, the way she leaned forward, the way her voice softened, just slightly, the same tone she used when she wanted something. But it wasn't working anymore. "You told me I was predictable," I said. "So consider this a surprise." Her jaw tightened. "I loved you," I added. "I built that whole trip around the idea that maybe, just maybe, you saw a future with me. But now I see you were always looking for an exit. You just decided to use my money to fund it." Danielle's eyes glossed over, but the tears never came. Marcus stood up. "This meeting is over. HR will be reaching out to schedule a formal discussion. Until then, I'd suggest taking the rest of the week off." She looked like she wanted to argue, but didn't. Instead, she picked up her bag and stormed out of the room, heels echoing down the hallway like distant thunder. The camera panned slightly as Marcus sat back down and looked at me. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah." He gave a short nod. I didn't know what kind of person she really was. Neither did I. We ended the call. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the now empty screen. There was no cheering, no satisfaction. Just quiet. But for the first time in a long time, the quiet felt like mine. Danielle didn't show up for work the next day, or the day after that. By Friday, it was official she'd been fired. Marcus didn't have to tell me. Word got around through social media faster than HR could send a final email. A few of Danielle's coworkers, people I barely knew but had met at events, started unfollowing her. Sophie deleted every photo from the vineyard trip off her profile. Her captions, once full of hearts and hashtags, suddenly turned vague, taking a break from negativity. Protecting my peace. I didn't bother reaching out. I didn't need to. Danielle's perfect world had started to crack. I heard from Sharon again the following Monday. Her voice was heavy when she called. "Tired." "She's back," she said simply. I figured. She didn't say much. Just that she got let go. "She's staying here for now, but Alan already told her we're not covering anything. No bailouts." "Good," I said, not out of pettiness, but because they were finally drawing lines. Boundaries she'd never had to face before. "She told us she didn't think it would go that far," Sharon added softly. "That she thought you'd just move on." I almost laughed. She thought I'd let it slide? There was silence. Then, almost like a confession, Sharon said, she always expected people to clean up her messes. "You're the first one who didn't." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. That silence said enough. That night, Danielle messaged me. Or at least, she tried. I'd unblocked her number briefly, curiosity, weakness, I don't know, and within minutes, my phone buzzed. Owen, please. Just hear me out. You got what you wanted. I'm out of a job. My parents are furious. Sophie's distancing herself. Can we just talk? I stared at the messages for a full minute. Then I blocked her again. No response. No, maybe. No second chance. I didn't need to hear her excuses. I already knew what she'd say, that it got out of hand, that she was confused, that it wasn't about the trip or the guys or the lies. It was about pressure, stress, feeling trapped. And maybe some of that was even true. But I also knew the truth she'd never say. She didn't think I'd ever push back. She thought I was safe to betray. So instead of replying, I did something else. I rebooked the trip. Not the exact same itinerary. Some of those places had too many ghosts now. But I found a quiet vineyard about an hour outside of Calistoga. More rustic, less flashy. I booked a simple suite. One guest. No couples massage. No balloon ride. Just 5 days to breathe. And when I got there, it wasn't dramatic. I didn't have a moment of realization while sipping wine at sunset. I didn't cry or rage or scream into the hills. I just existed. I sat on the back porch and watched the sun dip below the vines. I walked the gravel paths between rows of grapes, felt the breeze hit my face. I slept through the night without dreams for the first time in weeks. And somewhere between the silence and the slowness, I realized something. I hadn't just been grieving the loss of Danielle. I'd been grieving the version of myself I'd become around her, the guy always chasing, always giving, always hoping he'd be enough. And out here, surrounded by nothing but sky and dirt and sunlight, that guy was gone. I didn't toast to healing. I didn't make any dramatic declarations. I just let the quiet settle over me, and for once, I didn't feel the need to fill it. I let it stay.